Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Truth Table. I'm Paul Everton. Episode 61, February 25th, just 2 days before the Ontario election. And tonight I'm going to feature something different, independent candidates. The thing about independent candidates is they're not beholden to their whip, so they can actually vote according to their constituents instead of the top dogs. So there's an advantage to being independent. And we're going to talk to Jason St. Louis and Lionel Poizner and find out more so everyone can be informed when they vote right after this. Welcome, everyone. Tonight we're going to be meeting a couple of independent candidates. First, I have Lionel Poizner, who's running in York Center. So welcome to the show, Lionel. Uh-oh. Well, that's really weird. I can... Oh, it looks like he froze. So he'll be back. Jason St. Louis, welcome. So where are you running as an independent?
I'm running in the Glengarry-Presscott-Russel area. That is about 20 minutes east of Ottawa. And it covers a nice little range of people from Clarence Rockland all the way out to Hawkesbury, and then out to Prescott, Russell, Embrun, Limoges, St. Albert's, and some areas like that. So it's a nice little community.
Oh. And Lionel, you said you had your own party?
Yes, I actually have a party. It's called the Party for People with Special Needs. It's a small, minor party, but it was designed to bring attention to the needs of the community. And so, I took over the party in 2020, and I've been trying to sort of carry the torch since then. I've run in a few elections now. In fact, this was kind of like my inauguration into politics. Before that, I had no interest. I'm supporting a whole bunch of independents, of which, Jason is one of them. And we really are trying to, affect change. The nice thing about a small party, now, I am the interim leader, as I call it, but we don't have a party whip. There's only two of us in the party as far as candidates go. Right? So it's like we're independent, but most parties don't work that way, as you already know.
Yeah.
In my inaugural election, which was back in that was when Doug Ford got elected. That was a real learning experience. I mean, I had no idea just what was going on and how difficult it was for small parties or independents to even get any attention, never mind, get the word out. I mean, when I ran, the only way they found out about me was when they actually looked at the ballot. And if you looked and voted early and you looked at the ballot, I wasn't there. It took me a while to get my nominations done. So it really, taught me that what we were taught and what really is are two different things. I had no idea.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but they don't teach in school, how to do it. And
civics used to be an actual course. Now, out of what is it? I think you need 30 credits or 28 credits. It's a half credit course.
Mm-hmm.
No, half credit course out of all the credits you need for high school. Unbelievable.
Yeah, they should teach it. They should also teach, what the liberal platform is and what they said and what they did.
Yeah, they should. You're right. But if they did that, the existing liberals, would be in big trouble. So they don't let them do that.
But
They really don't.
But education based on honesty and transparency would be perfect for children. They need the truth. They need to be
You're right.
armed because they're basically, deers in the headlight when they leave school. They have no idea.
That's right. And what are they being taught instead?
Yeah, they're being taught to be socialists.
Never mind that. I'm not even talking about that.
Yeah. Yeah,
they're being taught things that are, total nonsense.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they're being taught this in an effort to, your feelings are important and all of this other stuff, when the reality is that most of the world doesn't care.
I've got 3 kids at different ages. My youngest is 11. My oldest is 18. He's finished high school. He's ready to go to college. And my daughter is 16. And, over the years, I've had both my oldest kids come to me and like, Dad, I really not really liking having to do like a Shakespeare piece of segment for school when I don't feel it's really getting me to where I want to go. And I think that our education system, we know now, has been set up a long time ago to be designed to be a certain way. And that's where part of my platform is I want to help to implement change in what these kids are learning from grade school, like my son who's he's finishing up grade 6, things that he should be learning. And then to my kids who are in high school. And that is getting them to be more directed. I'd like to see more co-op opportunities, or even have anybody who's an intern be able to go into schools, because I guess, co-op, it's hard to give every student in a class a co-op spot. So if maybe we had interns who might be practicing, let's say law, for example, my daughter wants to follow my footsteps and get into law. So it would be great if she could either do a co-op in a law or have an intern who's finishing their law degree be able to come into the classroom and just talk about some of the basics of your civic responsibility and duties, talk about the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the Bill of Rights, a little bit of the basis of a foundation for them. So by the time they're going to get into college, they've kind of went through some of this process of being educated into the direction of where they want to have a career. Same thing when we're talking about skills and trades, more workshops, more different skills and trades, and get these kids directed a little bit earlier into where they want to go. I think that would be a really good and important fact.
I think so, but not even just adding that. If you look at it, and listen, I have nothing against Shakespeare. I wound up moving through high school. I went to 3 different high schools. I wound up studying, I think it was Hamlet, 3 times, once in each grade as I moved from 7, 8, and 9. And fortunately for me, my mother was a grade 13 high school teacher in English, or I never would have passed. But I'm thinking in terms of the core subjects that are being forfeited now, like how money works. Even simple things like that. And they're not so simple, I realize.
Yep.
Banking, how the banking system works, how loans work, what is compounding interest. Our students are coming out of university and they have no clue. Never mind high school. They're coming out of university without this knowledge. I graduated engineering, and I was good in statistics, but I had no clue how money worked.
Yep. Especially because they have the voting age is 18. So how many 18, 19, 20-year-olds are not voting right now? They're just not educated.
Virtually all of them.
What's going on? They don't have an interest. And really, by the time you get to be 20, 25, 26, and you're like, hey, man, I want to vote, and I don't like what's going on, you've had 5, 6, 7 years of an opportunity to be part of the process. And so I think for me, as I was getting ready to do this this campaign, before the writ dropped, part of my plan was, and which I did speak to and get confirmation to do, was to go meet high school students who were 18, prepping to go to college, as well as some college and universities, to talk to them about civic duty, responsibility, how to look out and read what the different parties have as their platform. and really take a look at independence and how independence could perhaps strengthen the community word of mouth and bring that to the table. It's kind of what we're here to talk about a little bit today, being an independent candidate.
Can you let everyone know what the difference between a legacy party and independent, and how that you're empowered as an independent?
That's a very important distinction.
Yeah, I think Lionel's probably got more experience with the legacy aspect of it. But for me, where my interpretation is that the being part of the big party is, here's how I see it. When I was living in a different district, I went to my member of parliament with a bunch of great ideas on municipal, provincial farming initiatives, not only for food, but for the hemp industry, how that might be able to help revitalize our economy. And he says, oh yeah, great, thanks, I'll take it. Did it really get sent up the line? Did it get discussed at any type of committee hearing or anything? I don't know. And I really don't believe it did. And if it did, maybe the party in general said, you know what, we're not really interested. But as an independent, I know that when my constituents are working with me and based on what I want to do with my platform and have communication with everybody, transparency, make it so everybody's more interactive, then I can be for sure to say, hey, people, I did take our words. I did voice them at Queen's Park. And this is what I get.
You touched on something that I studied with hemp. They can use hemp with patio tiles. They're 3 times lighter and 3 times stronger. And you know how patio tiles break all the time.
Yep.
So, and how heavy they are if you ever worked with them. So, I mean, almost every product, they're fireproof. They make excellent insulation. They're also healthy because it I don't know, it's good for the air in the house. I mean, there's just so many things. We can make roads better with it. You know, we're not constantly filling potholes.
Yep.
I mean,
there's also like the hemp industry. You can have hempcrete houses, all kinds of textiles, clothing, feed, fuel, and 1 acre of hemp produces 4 times more pulp than 1 acre of trees.
Yeah, and it's not even just that. You can make plastic bottles with hemp that are biodegradable, non-toxic. I mean, we can do everything better. The government in place for decades has done everything bad. It's like no
understand that there are motives behind doing that bad.
Absolutely.
All right. And it's the same thing. I had a friend many years ago. He came up with a new concept for an engine for a car. And he actually sold the patent, and then it was buried.
Yep.
They never brought it out because if they used this new engine, gas consumption would go down.
Absolutely.
And a lot of big companies wouldn't make as much money.
Yeah, there's an African boy that invented an EV car that doesn't need to be charged.
Yeah.
And
there's more than that.
And they tried to
more than that. Well, I'm sure. But I mean, if you look at the legacy parties and what's going on, you know, the parties, and I guess I studied this when I ran the first time in the election, and I'm going to say legacy parties, but really it carries through to most of the parties. And part of that's because of egos that are involved. But in the legacy parties, if you go online, or at least you used to go online, they've changed it now. You'd go online and you'd look at the members of the party, and invariably one of the members would have the title party whip. All right. Now, they didn't tell you what party whip means. All right. But what it is the party disciplinarian. And the party disciplinarian is the one that says, hey, you're a bad boy. You know, okay, you're losing your corner office now, man, because you're not doing what we're telling you. Yeah. And if you checked all the major parties, you would discover that they had a party whip. Now, all of them still have the party whip mandate, you know, in their paperwork, but they don't list the party whip anymore because people now understand what it is. So with a small party, and I'll use, you know, the one I was in before, listen, the guy that was the leader of the party, he spoke great, you know, there's no party whip and all this other stuff. But the reality is there were 2 candidates that were in that party that did something he didn't like, so he threw them out.
Hmm.
I was one of the ones that behaved, so I was in. Well, I'm at my own party now, and we're not really running it like a party. So with only 2 candidates, there's no such thing as a party whip. She can do what she wants because she's a candidate, and I do what I want. And the idea is we're trying to listen to our constituents. When you're voting for someone who has a party whip looking over them, whether it's the leader of the party or whoever, all right, they are doing what they are being told. They are not doing what they are being told by their constituents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's the distinction, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm running for the Liberal Party federally and I don't do what Justin Trudeau tells me to do, I get my face slapped and thrown out of the party, and I'm talked down to like I'm a real bad guy, even if what I was doing was contrary to what the leaders said, because that's what my constituents wanted.
Yeah. Yep.
That's where the big difference is.
If I was in your party, I would probably nominate Kelly. If there's anyone, I would rather punish me. Don't tell her I said that.
Fortunately, she's out walking the street campaigning for another gentleman. And we're campaigning tonight
here
in Scarborough. and it's a lot of work. Anybody that's interested in politics, myself included, must be nuts. Here we are.
We talk about the independent and the party thing, and that's another big thing. I think that most constituents over time have not really wanted to consider whether it's hereditary, voting for Liberal or Conservative or NDP. It's always been like that party, you come from a family. But I've been getting emails from people saying, you know what, I'm voting for you because I really like what you have to say, and I believe that you're going to represent what you're saying. And they've lost that belief in their former party. So I hope that in this day and age with social media, we have the opportunity to start to connecting to more people as individuals, where they are more like, I think maybe I will take a chance on this independent aspect of things, rather than have a massive party represent me or not. I can have one person represent me and my people in my area. And if we can get that to happen in each of the 124 ridings across Ontario, that definitely would change the landscape of it. Then I think it would just be a matter of how do we now manage all these independent voices who want what they need in their independent communities, while it still acts as a whole to support, the whole of province.
Well, let me tell you something. All right. And this was my education when I first got into politics. Right. I was out canvassing in my constituency, and I got, 5 years of education in 10 minutes. And the reason I say that is because we were in, I think it was a Starbucks. And I was with some of my constituents, and we're wandering around, talking things up in advance of the election. And I wound up meeting an elderly woman at a table with an older fellow, was I think her dad. And so I went up to her, and we were talking about, like the coming election. This is when Doug Ford was going to get in. And I said, well, listen, what do you think of Wynne? Are you going to vote for her? She was the incumbent, of course. And she said, well, I'm a feminist. Wynne is a feminist. She's one tough lady. And I am going to vote for Wynne. And my husband hates it. Those were her exact words. And when, we talked about it later, it was clearly obvious. I mean, she would vote for this woman because she's a feminist, even if this woman sold her under a bus to steal all her tax money and run away to Hawaii. It didn't matter what this woman said or did. She's a feminist. She's a tough lady. I'm going to vote for her. And that's the voting mentality that has gotten rooted into our culture.
Yep.
My mom voted Liberal. My dad voted Liberal. I got to vote Liberal. And, why would I do anything differently? I must do what my mom and dad did. Right? That's made a big change. And that's starting to change now. Yeah, I've been contacted too by several people in my riding, and they didn't know who to vote for. They didn't want to vote for the big three. They didn't know who else. And, I said, well, listen, if you're in my riding, you can vote for me and I will represent you. Or if you're not, vote for an independent. If you don't know, they don't have an independent, I have a list of people that I'm networking with from other parties, other minor parties that I could work with. And I'll give you their names. Just depends where you are.
Can you let people know the difference between, the abilities of an independent as opposed to a party with a whip and legacy party?
Sure. Well, the legacy party and the party with the whip, they're pretty much the same. In the legacy parties, there's somebody that decides policy. All right. Regardless of what that policy is, whether it's I want to make hemp legal in every corner store across the country, which is how Justin Trudeau got elected, right?
Yeah.
Or it's, I want to widen the roads, whatever it is. All right. Then what happens is those people in control go to their party members and more importantly to their party MPPs and say, guys, this is what we're going to do. You're going to bring it up in Parliament. You're all going to vote yes, and it's going to get passed. And that is, in effect, what happens. Mm-hmm. Rarely, some of the members of the party might say, hey, this is a really bad idea. And if they do and they vote no, there are consequences. And I can give you some examples. Yeah. When I ran in the Trillium Party was the only party that had a sitting member of provincial parliament. When I say only party, I mean an only minor party. All right, the big three were in there. I think Greens had one. All right, well, this small, tiny party had a member of provincial parliament. Why is that? Well, the fellow that was in parliament, Jack McLaren, voted against a policy that was bad for his riding. And as a result, he got kicked out of the caucus of the Conservative Party. And so rather than sit as an independent, he decided to join with and become part of the Trillium Party. All right. So the implications are if you don't do what you're told, you either get disciplined or you get thrown out altogether. There goes the corner office.
Yeah.
And what that means is, regardless of what your constituents want, I'm in York Centre. So if my constituents say, no, it's a bad idea to widen the streets, all right, then if they propose a widening the streets bill and to put money in to do all this stuff, I am obligated as their representative, assuming they're in the majority, to say, no, it's not a good idea. My guys don't want the streets widened. All right. If I was in a legacy party, I would be told what to do.
And if your constituents are incorrect and they just are going based on making their decision based on emotion, you can at least explain to them why it's a good idea or a bad idea, and at least speak to them and convince them that they're wrong. Because
here's the thing. Right. Here's the thing. And yes, that does happen, but that does not happen in a majority of the cases. Mm-hmm. All right. Every constituency has approximately 100,000 registered voters, at least the way it's set up now. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have some folks that are, shall we say, a little ignorant of the issues, and some folks that are, not informed. But the majority of them are. And for those that are, the problem is that, hold on a sec here. For those that are, the thing is that they need an education. But in general, as long as you have a majority that are reasonably well informed, you're going to get a reasonable feel for what's going on.
And I think on that too, by being an independent, if we are talking about certain things like that, like for me in my area, we've got things like roads, construction of new places. We don't have, like Hawkesbury doesn't have enough land where they're going to need to start building upwards. So by being able to speak openly with the community about the benefits, pros and cons, it keeps everybody more in a conversation together. And I think that's another way how we could help educate those type of people who, they don't know, they're not educated, but at least if they can feel like they're part of the conversation and they have a voice, they're willing to be educated and to kind of follow suit as to what will be a benefit for the community.
That's right. And that also comes from the interaction. The way it works now, especially with the big parties, they see you once every 4 years when it's time for an election. You don't hear from them otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Like in our riding over here, recently we just had, right when the writ dropped, it was like 2 days before the writ dropped, the provincial government gave to the local
I remember that.
MPP $76 million to go hand out in the riding. Give them some money, give them some money, give them some money. And when I spoke to the mayors of the communities here, they're like, you know what? I'm glad that we've got it. We need it, but go figure. It comes at a time when it's election time, but we haven't heard nothing for years prior.
Hey, why do you think the Ontario government gave $200 to everybody? What do you think that was about? Do you think that was an accident? Of course not.
Money, and really $200 to most people, I think they'd rather have a service than have $200 in their pocket, which is going to get taxes we pay anyway.
We probably paid $5,000 in taxes to give $200 back.
Yeah, and
really.
I think lowering taxes, putting more money in people's pocket on a regular basis, would have been more meaningful than a $200 check.
Yeah.
So
I would say.
All I got was 4 chocolate bars.
You got that many? I'm in Toronto. I didn't get even that.
I had to steal one of them.
Yeah, okay. I would have had to steal 2.
So, Jason, have you been able to meet your constituents in your region, in your riding?
Yeah, I have. I've gotten to get out, meet lots of people, just talk to them about kind of what's going on in their areas, what things trouble them. And it ranges from the cost of housing and the mortgage rates that they have to pay. Talking about healthcare, there's just not enough healthcare around us. Some people are traveling a ways away, or they're waiting forever. Again, the taxes is a huge one. Those seem to be the 3 primary: taxes, healthcare, and the cost of living. So some of the things that I talked about was, okay, so why do we have a high cost of living? Are there too many people? So although it's a federal issue, I think we need to really get our Canadian Border Services or some type of government agency involved to have those people who are ready to leave, making sure they're out of here. That's going to be about 2 million houses minimum across this place to open up some housing. But if we need to continue building, we need to lower the cost of red tape, building costs, initial costs that are being put forward for the developers. And one of the things that I talked about was, okay, so if I'm going to get a loan right now, I'm getting a loan from a private bank. Anybody's getting a loan to build, they're getting loans from private banks. So where does that interest money go? It goes into the profits of the private bank holders. So my suggestion up the line would be that I would want to press the federal government to amend the Bank of Canada Act to allow for the Bank of Canada to make personal loans for first-time home buyers at, let's say, 2%, and then a lower rate than what we currently have for any other residential or commercial developers. And so the interest profits made from those loans would be proportionally split between the federal government who issued the loan, and then those rest of those profits could go back into those communities that got the loans in order to help reduce the tax costs for municipal services, water, sewage, anything like that. So it's a big thing, and it's not something that I don't think these politicians really wanted to deal with, but this is something that I would want to propose. If we're going to give loans and make money, we might as well put it in our own pockets.
Yeah, right. And Lionel, have you been able to meet a lot of your constituents as well?
I have. And in our case, in Toronto, the big thrust is in affordable housing. People are getting tossed out of their houses because of the interest rates. They're winding up in tents. They're outside freezing. I'm looking at some solutions to that problem, including affordable homes. And I'm not talking about homes that cost $1 million. I'm talking about homes that cost $150,000. I've also spoken to people that are in the special needs community and have needs that aren't being addressed. They can't afford where they're living. They're in danger of being thrown out of where they live. And the government has basically let them fall through the cracks. And
Yeah.
that has to be fixed. And it has to be fixed fast.
It's like everything the government touches, they ruin. They ruined
Pretty
everything.
much. Yeah.
Like healthcare, for example, we wouldn't have these long waiting lists because if there's a demand for something, it gets fulfilled. Like if there's
a shortage. There's a shortage right now in Ontario of 116,000 nurses. And I know that for a fact.
We know
right?
how that happened. Yeah.
I just lost my father 5 months ago. And we went through a 3-month period back and forth in the hospitals. The amount of time we spent waiting was incredible. Now, if you jump back 45 years, I had my own problems. I was in the hospital when I was 19. It took me 5 years to get better. The care I got back then was exceptional, and it didn't cost my parents a penny. If I got sick now with what I had then, I wouldn't be sitting here now. I'd have been long gone. And my parents probably would have been bankrupt.
Are you concerned with the Dominion voting machines?
Yes, very. And I do have a certain amount of knowledge on, how they work and how they can be, shall we say, hijacked.
Yeah.
And I have some big concerns about that. I don't like mail-in votes either.
Yeah. Well, I went in to vote today, and they said, it's the machines aren't hackable here in Ontario. I said, yeah, sure.
That's a load of nonsense.
Yeah, but he was not the Canadian, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, I went to a couple of the Election Ontario meetings, and they were very aware of the fact that a large number of people were concerned about those machines. All right. To the point where the electoral officer, Greg Senza, I think is his name. No, he even tried to address it in these meetings where he's talking to the leaders of all the little parties. We were all there.
Yep.
And he's trying to tell us it's okay. They're safe.
I'm constantly saying Ford on X. Like I message him, I comment about it on Doug Ford's Twitter all the time. I want paper ballots.
Yeah, no, it's really something. And there's a lot of people that are very concerned about that.
My opinion, the federal government is controlling Ontario by having these 4 yes parties, the Green, the NDP, all the parties in the debates voted for Bill 67, was critical race theory. So we have no representation. None.
That's right. But they're doing that across the country. It's not just in Ontario.
Oh, absolutely. But I think because Ottawa is in Ontario, they need to have a stronghold here. So I see it as a coup. The Dominion voting machines will give us the illusion of voting. And the media and the polls are always saying, liberals and conservatives are winning.
Well, think of it this way. Why is Ontario so important? It's really very simple.
Yeah.
It's not because Ottawa's here. It's because almost half the population of this country is here.
Yeah.
Not quite, but almost. All right. So if the majority of the population of this country is here, all right, if they lose access to this market, they basically get thrown out of government. They can't have that. They do everything they can to protect that and prevent that.
So would you agree with me? Do you think that this is a kind of a coup? That we have
yes, I do.
That we have the illusion of voting when we really don't?
Well, I don't know how badly it is hacked. All right. I do believe our system has been hacked. I don't know to what extent or to the full extent. Is it as badly hacked as it is in the States? I'm not sure. But I do know, like, this election is going to be very interesting. Just like what happened in, out west, where independent candidates were removed off ballots and all kinds of things are going on. There's even court cases now where there is stuff going on that was very, shall we say, anti-democratic, Well, if it's anti-democratic, then what is it?
Yep.
Right? It's a communist
If
regime. It's
you look at it as well, right? Like for my riding, what do we have here? Maybe 100,000, you know what I mean? Registered voters, 109,000. All the ridings together is a big number. But if you break it down to each riding and you have enough people for Elections Ontario helping to work, there's no reason why paper ballots cannot be counted for by these people. It's not that much. I could sit and count ballots, all night long for an 8-hour shift. How many could I get through? And if you put teams together of that, you could get through those ballots in a significant amount of time. And regardless of how much time it takes, it is needed. It is our voting, and it is important. And so it should take as long as it takes to count. I would be totally pushing for paper ballots, ID voting, and that would be it.
Well, the other thing is, look at how the voting patterns have changed. I don't know, probably 30 years ago, the voter turnout was above 80%. In this last 30 years, 40 years, that voter turnout has been steadily dropping. Why is that? The last election, at its lowest point, I believe, and I'm not counting by-elections, its lowest point, it was 48%. So less than half the people that can vote do. And what does that mean? Well, that means, because of the way our system works, if you just have to have the majority of people that voted, then that means if the majority of people are 20,000 votes, it means you're awarding 100% of the power with 20% of the votes. Yeah. That's not a majority government. All right, that's just a majority of what's happened. So now you've got a seat in Parliament. You do that enough times, you got enough seats to form a majority. It's not true representation.
No.
But why has the voter turnout gone down so drastically? Well, when I go and I speak to people, a lot of them have lost their faith in our voting system. They say it doesn't matter what I vote for, because the same people always win. That's so it doesn't matter what box I tick. They decide who they're going to put in, and the results are what the results are.
And I think that's where we're now, at this day and age, at this time and space, there needs to be the push for the precipice and the point where things change. And I know for me, getting involved like this, it's not like, okay, I'll get in and I'll try this one time. I understand it now as being the long run. This is going to have to be a marathon for me. I got in thinking I had more time to get out to my community. They dropped the writ, and now I basically a shotgun wedding on getting into this politics. So all I can do is do my best right now to get my word and my platform out, stay connected to my community, regardless of what happens here, and then continue on pushing and educating people on the strength of voting for an independent, and how an independent could give more say to our constituents.
That's right. But look at how the voting process works. Let's talk about the dropping of the writ. All right. The election was supposed to be scheduled, I think in 2026.
2026.
All right. Yeah. They leaked that they wanted to have an early election, and they hinted it would be maybe in April. And then what happened? Doug Ford then decided, no, we're going to have an election, but it's going to be a snap election. We'll have it started on Wednesday of next week.
Yeah.
And when did he actually drop the writ? It was actually Tuesday. So even before the Wednesday he said.
Yeah.
Now, if you looked at who was on the ballot on that day, there were only 3 candidates, the top 3 parties, right? Nobody else was ready because nobody else knew.
Yeah.
But if you also, look about it, who gets invited to the debates? Only the big 4. Who is able to buy media space? Only the big 4. They buy it all up. The little parties don't have the budgets to pay big money. And if the big parties buy it all, what's left is very expensive. They can't afford it.
And for the smaller communities like myself, I got to do a debate on Rogers TV. And, the incumbent, Stéphane Salazar, the current conservative MPP, he wasn't there. It was myself.
Well, why wasn't he there? Do you have any idea why? I
I'm
can
just wondering
probably
if
tell
they don't
you.
want to be questioned, or they just feel that they've got this in the bag already and they don't really need to show up.
Well, a part of it is not so much that they have it in the bag, though that's definitely a major part of it. It's that they don't want to risk getting somehow cornered in a bad way when, they're already got it as far as they're concerned. The potential for more damage is greater than the potential for gain. So better to just not show up than to show up and risk a problem.
Yeah.
And that's happening all across the province in the debates. The conservatives think they have it so well. It's like, okay, folks, let's just keep our mouths shut so we don't blow it, and we're going to get in regardless.
Yeah.
And that's what they're counting on. They're not counting on independents. I mean, we've actually, with 40 independents running in this particular election, that's actually pretty astounding. Especially since it was last minute. I mean, I wasn't on the ballot until the 12th of the month. That's when my registration as a candidate was finished. And Signy's registration, I believe, was the same. She's the other candidate for our party. And so it's like, if you can't, get on, I mean, listen, there's a lot of people, they don't know how to get nominated. It's a big job. So when they do finally get nominated, it's a big deal. Well, there's 41 of them that are nominated that got in.
Wow.
That represents an incredible thing. So, our party only has 2 candidates. I'm supporting as many independent candidates as I can. Jason, of course, you're one of them. And, we want to get people into government that we can work with. So these independents, we know we can work with them. We're also promoting some of the smaller parties, individual candidates from the smaller parties, from the New Blues, from the NODAs, none of the aboves, from the Libertarians. There's a lot of good people out there. And
100%.
most voters don't know that until they look at the ballot and see names they've never heard of before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And once they see those names, they don't know anything about them. So what happens? They vote for who they are familiar with.
But that's what's so important about podcasts right now is they are interviewing different candidates so people can at least hear them, hear what they have to say. The problem with the people not voting is everyone they all promise things that they don't give.
That's right.
Like the liberals, as a Christian country, I'm not saying everyone's Christian, but there's a lot of ethical people, morally strong because of their faith. And the first thing Trudeau did, he legalized cannabis, so he put it, brought it to the attention of everyone. Instead of just decriminalizing it, he made it illegal. But he also legalized bestiality. So instead of just decriminalizing it, he put it forward. You can do this. And instead of decriminalizing and not talking about it, but still, I mean, that's against the Bible pretty much.
Half of the promises they make, they promise one thing and do something else. And the other half, they promise something and do it, but in a, let's say, a wrong way. All right. And you can see this everywhere. Look at what was done in the city. They finally okayed these little homes that you can drop in your backyard, right? So they can increase housing by putting in granny suites. Yeah. Rather than, let you finish your basement, which can cost you a fortune because you need to meet all these zoning requirements. You can drop these little prefab houses in your backyard. The problem is they put so many rules around it. Your backyard has to be so big. You can't be too close to the house. It has to be this. It has to be that. And nobody's been able to do it. So they come up with these solutions and then make it impossible to put them into place. They did the same thing with the the registered disability savings plan. They told people how wonderful it would be if the government puts money into a savings program for the disabled in our communities. All right. They allocated $10,000 a person, $1,000 a year for 10 years. And then they kept that program as a best kept secret. So they announced it, but then didn't tell people how to get on it. the guy that founded my party before I got involved, he made it his mission to help people one at a time get on disability and get this RDSP money. And that's what the government does. They do these things and then they try and stop it. They only want to spend the money on themselves.
So
they don't want to keep giving money out.
As a whole, is what we see now is there's no accountability, there's no transparency. There's no way they're never accountable, and that is something that definitely
has to change.
And so as an independent, being able to offer that transparency, and I think you offer new technologies. So how can I have a website set up so my constituents can have an open viewing of everything that's going on, right? Like we talk about things like, okay, whenever the censorship bill came out, a minister had to pass that, had to bring it to the Senate, right? Well, we should be able to have access to it. Now we do have access to see what bills are being proposed, but for the most part, nobody knows where that is on the government website. They don't even know that they can go find it. And if they would go find it, and they'd be like, oh, wow, look at this. These bills are being proposed. That means I'm not going to see media coming from anywhere around the world except for whatever the government wants me to see.
But that's just it.
Wouldn't vote
and
for
not
that.
only, well, and then the other question is, okay, well, who voted yes to pass it?
Correct.
Did my member of parliament pass it? I didn't want them to pass it. My neighbors don't want them to pass it.
Yep.
What business do they have of saying yes to something when the majority of the community says no way?
I was doing a Facebook thing where I was putting some statistics that CBC was getting another $24 million or whatever it was, or $124 million by the federal government. And when I went to attach the article, Facebook said, sorry, you can't have this article here. The Canadian government does not allow this media to be put
Yeah,
out.
I know.
You can't even post facts from a CBC website to show what is going on in our own areas.
Yep.
I know.
I know. That's why
people just don't know.
These podcasts are so important. That's why this small, the other media, the private media are so important. And for that, Paul, we have to thank you. It's really, really important what you're doing.
Hello. I feel like it is. I feel like.
Guess who's here?
You got my sister in your car.
Hi, Paul. Hi, everybody.
I know I didn't buy enough donuts.
No, listen, we had this amazing response. So tomorrow, Paul, I don't know if you feel like having a little drive. And I don't know if you maybe have a microphone and a Bluetooth speaker, but this girl is motivated and I want to make some noise in the streets. Want to come?
That's when you know the government's in trouble.
I do. I want to make some noise in the streets.
Well, we are doing another show tomorrow.
Well, why don't you do it live on the scene?
We could do it live.
Hey, that's another way for us. You know what? That's another way for us to get some more candidates on. I think that could really be good.
I'm so motivated from the interactions that Eldon and I had at these doors alone, and from the fresh air, and Eldon's one of my heroes. He's right here. Hi.
Hello.
So yeah,
Lionel's the only one out of the three of us, Jason, that has a whip in the car. Right there. One wrong move and
yeah, and unfortunately, she's in striking range too. I got to be careful.
Striking range. Like, she's not safe right now.
Well, I want everybody who watches this to know tomorrow I will be at Cedar Brae Mall. I'm not sure of the time yet, but I will announce it after Lionel and I talk about it. Come on out, guys, and I could use your support. I would like to do this early in the day, but we'll talk with, I don't know what Lionel's schedule is tomorrow. That's the truth, right? So we got to figure that out.
Well, obviously I know what my schedule is going to be. That much I know.
But I would like to start at noon, guys, and make some freaking noise until everybody shows up. And then I've got a plan.
Is it Cedar Brae?
Yep. Cedar Brae, right at Eglinton Lawrence and
Markham Road.
Sorry. Hi, James. 1 second. So at Lawrence and Eglinton.
Markham Road.
Markham Road. Sorry, Lawrence and Markham Road. Hold on 1 sec. I'll be right there. You want to park for a sec? I'll be right there. I'd say stop for tonight. Tomorrow, trust me, I got an idea. I'll be there. Just park for 1 sec. I'll be 1 sec. Okay. Sorry, guys. Kelly's got a plan, and Kelly's all motivated. Look the fuck out. Yeah, I'm totally inspired. The response that we had from people, the last guy we stopped and talked to, he's like, really? He's independent? And I was like, yeah. And he will not make a decision on any policy or law without first consulting with you. The shock was fantastic. So it's go time. It's time to get really fucking loud. And if we're going to pick this campaign up and really move, then we're going to do it right. So I hope you guys come out and join. Paul, I would love for you to be live on the scene and involved. You are my brother, and I love you. And I'm going to go have a conversation. You guys continue, and I will hopefully see you tomorrow. Bye.
Awesome.
Oh boy, now I'm in trouble tomorrow. But you see, Cedar Brae Mall, and I can promise you that's going to be educational. But you see, the whole thing is, and what got her excited, and it's the same thing that got me excited when I was out talking to people to get my nominations. I was talking to people, and it's the first time I've seen anger.
He's gone.
Isn't that the red lights over behind there?
No, that's not him.
Well, we'll turn around and try and find him in a minute.
Oh, is that him coming back?
I've never seen people so angry. And that tells me that there's hope, because it means they've woken up.
Okay, that's him all the way down there.
That means they've woken up. And that's important.
Yeah, I've had some of the same thing where some people are angry, some people are fed up, but just the fact that they realize that there's actually something else has given them a little idea, like, okay, maybe I will get involved again and, have a look at the platform. And it really is like that. People are upset, people are fed up. It's just a matter of getting those people who are upset, fed up, and not voting to be upset, fed up voters.
That's right.
Get out and vote.
That's right. And it's also, it's also important to get the people that aren't used to voting out. And I'm talking mainly about the student age voters, the younger generation, that they were never interested in it for good reason. They've been programmed not to be interested in it.
Yeah.
Well, if they don't get interested in it now, all right, they're going to be treated like robots that do nothing but serve the elites by the time this is finished.
That's what some of the younger kids that I've spoken to about, right? I showed them some statistics where, it's going to take them about 20 years on this income, on this society right now. If we held right now, you're looking at 20 years before you can afford a down payment on a home. They're not happy about that. So
even that's not necessarily accurate, because they're devaluing the currency, right? And they're not being taught how to invest properly to make sure that would be the case.
Sure. Yep.
All right. The banks are making a lot of money on their earnings. They're not.
Education is going to be key for the next level of this whole process. From this point on, it's educating people. Yep.
Big time.
So it's
a
long game, and that's kind of where I think I'll be looking at from whatever happens from this point on, right? Staying involved, educating the constituents that are in my area, because that's the best I can do for them. Things that are happening outside of my area, they're different. The needs and wants of people in other areas differ from what we have over here. So if each independent can strengthen that they're going to support the needs of their independent constituents, then that I hope is going to make a nice collaboration and get more people out to vote.
It will. And look at the difference. The one thing that our two areas have in common is the approximate number of registered voters. Yeah. But after that, I'm in downtown GTA.
Yeah.
And you're way out in the boonies as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. Right? The needs of the population are totally different.
Yeah.
And the problems are totally different.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it has to be recognized. And that's the problem. When you have an oligarchy type arrangement where you got to do what you're told, and what you're told isn't necessarily good for your own constituents, well, now you're caught between a rock and a hard place. I can lose my nice corner office and do what my constituents want, or I can do what the boss says and I'm still making lots of money, and I get paid even when they say the government is shut down for 3 months, and I'm having a good time, and I have a big salary, and I'm going to get a pension for life if I do this long enough. So why would I jeopardize it? Well, that's what's happened.
Yep.
Well, you see, gentlemen, I don't like to admit this, but I am very black-pilled. Democracy is how, this is the failure of democracy that we're seeing, because we have the gang rule, because they were in power, so they made it so they could, fund the media, the polling, so they, they're bloated numbers, so they can manipulate
I think of it.
Manipulate the population into thinking this is what the majority thinks. So these four top parties all voted against parental rights with Bill 67, and so they betrayed basic.
They totally betrayed everybody.
Yeah, and they've got a stronghold through the democratic way of doing things. They agreed together to do this. Bill 67. So
they hijacked the system.
Yes. So what we need is really a republic where we have rules, like we have an open, fair market for hospital services. For example, if a lot of people can run an MRI machine, they could rent a part of the hospital and offer that service, and then have competition. So another MRI machine will be there and offer coffee, and it would just come off of the health card. The health card, the libertarian model, where the money will go to the service provider. So we have competition, but we have rules. If they hurt someone, they're liable, and
of course,
be extended to the pharmaceutical industry. If they harm someone, they're if rotten meat gets pulled off of a shelf, a death is one too many, and it should be pulled.
That's
and we should treat everything that way to protect each other.
That's right.
Ultimately, we could have a proactive system where if someone betrays us after an election, like Trudeau, we could just have a online free referendum and have him thrown out of office, and that includes school board members, when a city can the riding can join this system, and they can all have petitions, and
the right of recall,
without having to protest or rallies or anything like that. They don't have to do anything. They just go online, they suggest a petition, and then people can vote on it, and then get rid of these people right away and have another election for that person.
That can happen really well in smaller pockets, like each individual riding.
Our system,
right?
Our system has been rigged in such a way. It was hijacked. It has been rigged.
Yes.
And there isn't a right of recall here, and there isn't a lot of things that could solve this problem. And that's why it's important to vote in the independents, so we can take this back and we can fix it. The big parties aren't going to fix it. They're leveraging it. They're counting on it. All right. We have to get in, and we have to be able to work together to bring in the fixes. I mean, this concept of doing as the leader says, that's a total defeat of the democratic process. That's not democracy. All right, that's that's basically communism. I'm the big leader. Do as I say, or you'll get shot. This is okay. In this case, it's do as I say, or you'll get rid of your corner office. But the idea is, it's been totally hijacked.
Four parties that are all wolves, and we're all the sheep, and they're voting on what's for dinner.
They're not wolves. They listen. Lions and tigers and bears are circus animals. Wolves don't play in the fucking circus, and sometimes wolves are vegetarian and like sheep.
See, I knew it. See, I knew I would get her going when I said wolf.
I knew I didn't bring enough donuts to the table. I knew it.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, I think we better get going.
But I had to say wolf, just, she lit right up, didn't
Love
she?
you, honey bun. Love you.
That was very well done, I might point out.
Thank you. This is why I get the big bucks around here.
I guess so. I am humbled.
So, Jason, are you black pilled too, or do you have hope?
Yeah,
We don't need hope, honey. We got skills.
We got God.
Yes, we do.
Part of the reason why I got into this is because I felt like it's just the same old thing. It's been the same old thing. And so I'm like, I'll get back into law school and I'll look to use this law degree to get myself into politics and make a run at this, because if I don't do anything, I'm not doing nothing. So as much as it is bleak and it seems a certain way, we do the best to create our own reality, and we can see throughout history there's ebbs and flows and ups and downs. And I think if we put the right energy into this, we can create something new. And I got to put my energy into that versus thinking that I'm defeated already.
Well, I have a question for
both. I'll be defeated in battle, but at least I'll be in battle.
I have a question for both of you. If there was some kind of phony baloney, someone sneezed and we got a new pandemic, would you follow the suggestions of the medical? Like, would you follow something that you knew wasn't correct just because
I'll go first.
Yes, please.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't follow it. I didn't think it was right the first time it happened. And now that we know that Pfizer tried to hide the results for 70 years, we know that they told us, get the vaccine, it'll keep you from spreading it. We know all the lies happened. It's lies upon lies upon lies that, for myself, I didn't fall for it the first time. I'm definitely not going to fall for it the second time. However, that doesn't mean that the people in power aren't willing to put something out into the world that is going to make us sick. So we just have to do our best to navigate that if it ever happened.
Yeah.
That's why God gave us an immune system.
All right, sure. Lionel, how would you react to?
For me, as the saying goes, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah.
All right. I got my education. Perhaps I got a little stronger education than I would have liked, but I won't make that mistake again. Definitely not.
Did you suffer any consequences when it did happen? Did you lose a job or?
I actually, because I was living with and looking after my father, my dad was in his 90s. And, he's a big worrier guy. I'm looking forward to the vaccine. It'll mean I'm safe. So I took him and we got vaccinated. All right. And that was the AstraZeneca one. And then they came out with the second vaccine and we still didn't know all this stuff. I had mixed feelings about it because I'm a transplant patient. For years, I couldn't even get a flu shot. But I didn't want my dad to worry. So away we went, took Dad. We got the second vaccine. And I wound up regretting that decision big time. I had all kinds of problems.
Mm-hmm.
Years go by, 2 more vaccines later, my father, was out with 4 vaccines. He was lining up for his 5th. Fortunately, a friend of mine, a medical doctor, talked to him and talked him out of it. My dad passed away 5 months ago. What was the trigger? A massive blood clot.
Shit.
A massive blood clot. I'd never seen anything like this. The blood clot was in my dad's waist, and it cut off the circulation of blood to his leg. I have never seen someone with a leg that was totally white.
Mm.
All right.
We all know the stories and the stuff that's going on with who are those people who exhume bodies before they get. They were doing studies and they were pulling massive clots.
I know.
Human cadavers, right? So we could go on with a whole bunch of that stuff, but
losing someone's never easy, and we want them, if they do go, we want them to go painless and peacefully.
Yeah, my dad didn't get the benefit of that.
But I would expect him to be eternal, and you're gonna see him again.
Oh, I'm sure of that. I think he's watching over me even now.
He's in much better shape now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, he was in agony. It was terrible.
Yeah,
it was terrible.
Yeah, my father worked for the health industry as well, and he also died. And I can relate to you. I know he was suffering, so I'm glad he's not anymore.
That's for sure.
Now, my next question for both of you, so I'll start with you, Lionel, is if given a seat in the legislature, would you enhance the freedoms of the bodily autonomy and of your constituents, and would you push for that?
Absolutely. Of course I would. All right. From my perspective, being told to take an injection, that's what they did in the Holocaust. All right. They forced people, they did medical experiments. This whole COVID thing was a medical experiment. All right. From my perspective, as a former transplant patient, I shouldn't have been messing around with these vaccines. There's no way I should have been. But I did against my better judgment. And it's the same thing, forcing people to do any sort of medical procedure is against everything I stand for. And even more so when you think about it now, what's the government doing? Hey, well, okay, you don't want the medical procedure. Well, here, we can make it easier for you. Why don't you just die? We'll even help you on your way. My father was so uncomfortable, he signed up for the MAID program. He never actually pulled the switch.
Holy crap.
But he signed up for it. All right. And we found out exactly how that works. And it turns out the MAID program, which is supposed to make it so much easier and it's a wonderful way to go, well, it's not. All right. It turns out they put you to sleep and then they drowned you. Basically. But
it's also a spiritual religious attack to kill, do not murder.
Yeah, it is too. I'm not even going for the religious route. That's all besides the point. And yes, in my religion, it's definitely a no-no.
The killing thing is a big bad no. And the other thing is coveting. And, Trump loves coveting, taking the oil from here and taking the oil from there. He just loves pillaging, for protection. That's how the guys, all this baloney, all these military bases is under the guise of keeping our allies safe. Really, it's there for threat, Give me your oil.
It's to protect the resources that they need.
Yeah, bingo.
That's what it is. It's all about money.
But they lied to us, and now we know. And I love Doge. I'm really excited every day.
Yeah, I'm excited about that too. I think that's funny.
Because I know they're going to hit Canadian shores. They're going to get over here and expose some of the things going on here. So I don't know how we're going to resolve this with the system we have. It's like they're really not giving us a lot of choices here. They're willing to.
That's why we have to get in. We need the voters to get out and do what they do best. But they have to be educated, so that they're voting for reason, not just because they're feminists or they're this or they're that.
And that's one of the things I put on my platform is AGE, Audit for Government Efficiency, which is the same essential thing. Because as I started to look at global affairs, investigating international monies that are put out, it blew my mind at the billions of dollars that I'm finding that our tax dollars are giving to countries all over the world. Yet our government tells us we don't have money to take care of ourselves. At this day and age, there shouldn't be one reservation without proper water and sanitation. There shouldn't be one veteran doing without. And we shouldn't be having any homeless on the street. We have enough money in our taxes that we should be taking care of our people. And then if we got a surplus, let's be happy to, help and support, other parts of the world that might be in need of certain things.
There should not be families living in tents on church lawns.
No.
Right? There's no reason for that.
Yep.
But Jason, that's what's happened.
Same question to you, Jason. As an independent candidate, would you do everything to enhance freedoms and sacred bodily autonomy, parental rights?
Absolutely. I would definitely be supportive of that. And also to make it so that the other side of the fence, where we saw people who came out against the government's mandates, were saying, hey, wait a minute, like this, and this, they got shut out in silence. We can't have that. We have to have open dialogue, and we need to hear from all sides. And then from there, make a collective proper decision, because you got to see like podcasts where Joe Rogan had, a lot of doctors and specialists on who are all part of developing those mRNA things that are like, wait a minute, this is not what this is, people, right? Like they all got silenced. We saw it, and we see it now that it's all said and done with. Most of the people know it was a fraud, and people got silenced and lost their careers. Well, we can't let that happen again. So I would definitely be all out to support your own bodily autonomy. Parents, look after your kids. I don't want to see the whole LGBTQ plus thing in the schools where my young son is. Teach my kids education, keep them safe, and allow for parents to support their children in other areas of their lives. If they want to be this, that, or the other, then support that in your home outside of it with the other community that you might be in, rather than try to implement that community that's so small into such a large demographic of kids. My son doesn't want to hear it. He's 11 years old. He knows there's boys and there's girls, and he doesn't want to hear all the other rhetoric about it. He just wants to go to school and enjoy himself and learn and play. And the other things that happen outside of that, that's where it should stay, my opinion.
So let's just say the independents get a majority government. You take over the House.
Yes.
Yep.
Wishful. That's what we're aiming for.
Listen, I'm going to tell you guys all. I'm going to tell you right now. I am active. I've got boots on, and I'm going to have a speaker and a microphone in my hand again tomorrow for the first time in at least 2.5 years. The worst that we're going to do federally is take a minority. I promise you that.
Hey, never mind the fact she's got a bet at stake. If she loses, she has to buy. Oh, sorry.
No, my daughter has to buy dinner.
That's
so
right.
I'm not going to allow my Gracie to buy any man dinner.
Oh, no, she's going to be buying me dinner if she loses.
Yeah.
There you go. You want to know about motivation?
Dinner's going to be
please.
like $1,000 in about 2 months if liberals or the conservatives win.
Yeah, that's right.
Listen, I want to say this to everybody in Toronto. Listen, I am the you want to know what makes me so absolutely unbreakable is because I never hold a grudge. So for everybody in Toronto who might be interested in this campaign and maybe feels away because of all the bullshit over the last 5 years, water under the bridge. Let's go. It's time. Let's go. I want to see your faces. It's up to us to remind everybody what the example of unity is. Show up. Show up. Ask me everything. I will show you everything. So let's go. Let's do it. So I hope to see everybody there. I'm going to be blasting it all night, all over the damn place. So what do you think, 12? 12:30?
Yeah, 12:30 might be
perfect.
possible.
12:30, Cedar Brae Mall. If I got to drive my rickety shack myself.
Oh, we can't let you do that.
No, I can't.
Oh, no.
I'm telling you, somebody can put a pin on my car. It'll pop like a spider. I'm telling you. It's so bad. So, but if I got to walk, I don't care. 12:30?
12:30.
12:30 at Cedar Brae Mall, right at Lawrence and Markham. You'll hear me. You'll hear my big mouth. I promise you. And I hope to hear yours too.
There we go. You got it firsthand here. I'm in the show.
I'll get in here. Do I get the wrong place on the map here?
I can't see it because I'm on my phone.
I don't see Lawrence, and I don't see those streets.
It's basically
Markham
Road, which is Highway 48.
Lawrence, I see it now.
And there, yeah. So yeah, pretty close. Yeah.
Southwest.
Yep, Markham. So Markham and Lawrence. Here we go.
Yep. Southwest corner of the street.
Awesome. So everyone can see it. So I'm gonna.
Yeah, we're gonna try and fill a parking lot.
When you get out of bed, head that direction. And
basically, that's it.
You know what time you're gonna go there, or?
We're gonna try and be there for 12:30.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, well, if we can be a little early, we'll try because we got to set up and whatnot. But
yeah, but that's okay. We can. If people come early, they can help set up and.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And get to know you, talk to you, find out about it. Your party.
Yep. find out, meet some of our independents, hopefully.
Yep.
Where we're going to try and have make it a big party.
Yeah, I think we should because there's only one day left. Like
I know. Well,
tomorrow,
technically, the blackout for actual advertising starts tonight at midnight.
Oh,
all right. So that's when you can't do any more posting or any new stuff. If you've got something online already, it can stay, but you can't change it, you can't alter it, and you certainly can't post anything new. That's the electoral blackout period. And that's 24 hours right before the election. Right?
So both of you would enhance people's freedom. So that you guys aren't really that different, are you?
No, we're not. Not at all.
See,
the only real difference between my campaign and Jason's would be there's a lot of stuff that are relevant for me because of the special needs community and the programs that are needed and the things that are being dropped and not done. That's I guess you could say an extra weight on my head, right? But most of the independents that I've spoken to, they have the same concerns. They know people with special needs. They know people whose voices are not being heard.
Yep. I've got people reaching out from the little smaller communities here to me that are like, hey, we don't have a community center. We don't have access to different programs for our youth, our teens, or our seniors, right? And because of the demographic boundaries, they're being overlooked. Like, what can you help us, right? And so it's like I've got these little outlying community people reaching out to me, and it's like, wow, I didn't realize there are so many little communities in need. So all I said to them is like, listen, I want to know more, regardless of what happens with this election, this election on Thursday. I want to know more. I want to talk to you people more because we need to build something so that you can be heard. It's not just for this election; it's going to be for the next one as well. So
and the next one after that too.
Absolutely. So again, this is a marathon. It's a long-running marathon, and we got to go after it. So.
Well, that's why we're working. That's why we're out on the streets tonight. I'm sitting in my car. That's what it's all about.
Within striking range of a wolf. A wolfy whip.
You don't know the half of it.
The wolf whip.
Yeah. Hey, are there any more questions, Paul? Because I think I better get going here.
No, this is good. We'll work out how we're going to do tomorrow, and we could end up just doing a live from your phone like right now. And
yeah, we can do that. I am going to try and arrange for a bunch more candidates for tomorrow.
That would be awesome.
And I think we're going to have a pretty good group, hopefully, at the mall. And we'll be able to do some interviews there, too. I think it could be a really good time. I don't know what the weather's supposed to be like tomorrow, but we'll figure it out.
Yes, sir. It was a pleasure having you on, Lionel. Thanks for coming on. And I look forward to tomorrow. And you too as well, Jason. Thanks for coming on the show. And let's hope that in 2 days that we have some seats happening so we at least have the voice. Because, it's
the question is really going to be who's buying dinner.
Yeah, and all the freedom fighters and are they going to be changing their votes too?
Yeah,
and realizing
I think so.
Set up.
Let's hope so. That would be nice.
Yeah, I think so.
The
freedom fighters are the ones that are awake. It's the other ones we got to worry about.
I think we may have to overwhelm the Dominion voting machines by having a massive voting so it just can't cheat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping too. That is what I'm hoping. Well, anyway, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for
having me.
For hosting this. And Jason,
to be out here. Yeah.
Thank you very much, for everything. And I better go, and I'll be in touch with you tomorrow, Paul.
Have a great night, Jason.
Thank you. Paul, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. An opportunity just for me to be able to get this and post this to my pages and share it with the community. This is what we need. So anytime, I'll be around anytime you ever want me to have me on again. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. And thank you all at home for coming to the show, The Truth Table, episode 61, February 25th, 2025. I have an event tomorrow. I'll probably be hosting that as well with lots of independent speakers. So other than that, we got 2 days left. Enjoy your night, and thank you for coming.